Every year, at least 2 or 3 of my students come back to me in the month of May with their long faces. Their IA projects that they've put months into thinking about and working just didn't work. One of them tried testing the antibacterial effects of garlic oil on E. coli. The bacteria refused to cooperate. And another one wanted to test the effect of music on the growth of plants. Unfortunately, the plants seemed unimpressed. And at that point of time, the student is usually panicked. Ma'am, what do I do? My experiment failed. Can I not do anything about it? And I always tell them one thing: heartiest congratulations to you, because this is science, this is life, and this is the art of doing. Hello everyone, my name is Gayatri Srinivasan, and I'm the head of science and biology. And I've spent over 18 years teaching biology and coordinating events, but a lifetime as a singer. Today, I'm here to talk about the art of doing through the lens of a teacher, a singer, and an event coordinator. It is not the checklist version of the art of doing, nor is it the timeline version, but it is the messy, frustrating, and exhilarating version. The kind of doing that means that sometimes your plants don't grow, or your bacteria just won't behave. Your confidence wobbles, your voice cracks, and things just don't go the way you wanted to. So let's start looking at things from the lens of a teacher and a department head, for example. An HOD is often seen as an administrator, someone who manages paper allocations, class allocations, reports, policies. But according to me, an HOD is much more than that. He or she is a head, is a visionary, a guide, and a role model. The department does not move forward because of titles, but because of action and inspiration. And as an HOD, I truly believe in leading by example, because leadership is not about issuing instructions, it's about embodying the values we want others to live by. If I value punctuality, then I must be the first one to reach the spot. If I value lifelong learning, then I must be the one ready to take up something new and keep growing. And if I value collaboration, then I must be the one to include everyone in decision-making from my department rather than make the decisions for them myself. So you may ask me, do you actually practice what you preach? And my answer is usually yes. I try to. I may not be perfect, but yes, I am willing to, and I try my best. As the head of the department, practicing the art of doing sets the tone for the entire department. Every action, whether big or small, becomes a silent lesson for colleagues and students alike. And over time, the department becomes a community of doers, not just dreamers. When action is consistent, respect grows. And when respect grows, leadership does not need to be demanded, it is offered to you. You know what most of my students fear when they actually sit down to write their biology IA, their report? It's not the experiment. It's not the result analysis, nor is it the evaluation and conclusion in the end. It's actually that blank page at the start. The moment when you sit down to write your report, and all of a sudden your mind feels empty. All those brilliant ideas that seemed so wonderful at the start of your experiment, all of a sudden gone. All the questions that you thought were worth exploring, suddenly not good enough. It's strange, isn't it? Nothing feels more intimidating than nothing. And do you know what causes an experiment to fail? Probably you were too lazy enough to research more, study more, find out more, or come up with a better methodology. Or probably you were, procrastinating so much that you thought eventually, in the end, you will manage it. And then one day, as a result of your own actions, your experiment may not work. It's probably nowhere close to your hypothesis as well. So that leads to panic. That leads to all these surprises. And then you come and run to me and say, ma'am, I actually did everything, but yet it did not work. I just look at you. I mean, I look at my students and I say, did you do everything that you were supposed to do? And then the silent stare at my face answers the question. And it is this failure that motivates the students to research better, plan better, execute better till they succeed. It is this failure that got them into thinking that managing the task is not going to be possible unless and until they sit down and work on it. Only after this can you actually fill that blank page that initially seemed daunting to you. And the sense of achievement that you are going to experience after that is definitely one of a kind. And all because you did it right. Not the art of doing perfectly, but the art of doing it anyway. And this is not new. If you go back in history of science, and the biggest discoveries actually came from accidents, detours, and failures. Penicillin, for example, was accidentally discovered because Alexander Fleming forgot to wash his Petri dishes. And I'm sure all of you know that. So what's the lesson we get from here? Discovery rarely looks neat in the moment. Let me take you to a different part of my life. Most of the people around me don't know that I'm an Indian classical trained singer. And I have performed at various stages in my life. In music, mistakes are just as real as they are in science. Performing in front of hundreds of people, the constant fear of your voice cracking in the middle of a concert, not being able to reach that high note which seems so simple when you were actually rehearsing, or even forgetting the lyrics in the middle of the concert. And all of these have happened to me, and every time I have learned valuable lessons from them. I have learned to look forward to these mistakes, look forward to these accidents, and I always have a plan B in mind to try and cover up these little mistakes, because it's quite daunting to sit there and perform for 2.5 hours. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I would usually say that probably the audience may not realize that I went wrong. Sometimes I would repeat the same lyrics in case I forgot any. But there were always two people who sat and listened to me thoroughly and always picked on that one small mistake. One used to be my guru or teacher, who will silently listen and nod. And the other was my father. Both of them were the ones who took keen interest in my learning. My father would say, for instance, you know, in that Hamsadhwani Kirtan, when you came down, the knee was not clean. And out of 500 people in the audience, only he would identify that. And there goes all my desperate effort in having camouflaged that throughout the entire concert. And that's when I realized that sometimes what we think of as a failure is actually a gift. It makes us human. It makes us relatable, and it gives someone else the permission to try. And that's when you will actually taste success. And I'm sure your mind is probably asking me right now, that's okay, that sounds good, but what if I fail? Am I not wasting my time? And my answer to you would be simple. Yes, you will fail at times. You will waste time. You will get to see results that you did not fathom. But that's not the bug in the system, you know. That's the system itself, because failure is the stepping stone to success. Outside the classroom, I'm also an event coordinator. Award ceremonies, graduation days, leadership lecture series, where we've brought incredible leaders into our school. And do you know what's common among all these events? No matter how much or how carefully you plan, something will always go wrong. The mic cuts off, the guest arrives late, or a video just doesn't play. By the way, all this would have happened after a perfect rehearsal, probably an hour before the event. And in that moment, you don't have the luxury to freeze. You do you adapt, you find a new way forward. And often, the audience wouldn't even realize that there was something wrong backstage. Event coordination is, in fact, the perfect example of the art of doing. In fact, there are 4 main learnings that I would like to take from this particular task. Number 1, it helps you execute from plans to action. Because every idea, every event starts with an idea. But the idea alone is not enough. The stage doesn't set up itself. The audience doesn't sit in front of you on its own. And it takes the art of doing to transform this idea into reality. Because behind every smooth event is a team that moved from talking to doing. Number 2, doing builds learning. In event coordination, not everything goes as planned. This is where the art of doing is a lesson in adaptability. By doing, we learn to solve problems on the spot, to think creatively, and to remain calm under pressure. And no classroom teaching can teach that. Experience does. Number 3, teamwork in action. The art of doing in event coordination is never about one person. It's about an entire team moving forward together. Each member takes ownership of the task given. Some will arrange for logistics, some will manage hospitality, some will handle designs and announcements and so on. And this is when every person does their part, the event becomes absolutely seamless. And number 4, leadership through doing. As an event coordinator, I cannot just sit and instruct. I need to show up early, stay late, and model commitment. When others see that I have rolled up my sleeves and I've started along with them, started working along with them, then automatically they are naturally inspired to work their best. And this is where vision becomes reality through action, where teamwork shines, where leadership is expressed not in words but in deeds. And as the saying goes, well done is better than well said. Not waiting for conditions to be perfect, but stepping into the imperfection and making it work. Over the years, many of my students have chosen to pursue medicine, not because it's easy, but because they learned, sometimes through failure, what resilience looks like, and therefore have decided to take up this challenge of the rigor involved in the course. And some of these students come back to me later and say, "Ma'am, it wasn't the knowledge in the textbook that stayed with us, but rather the way you pushed us to think, to experiment, you question when things fall apart." And that's what the process of scientific discovery is. When you ask, what if? Trying, failing, and trying again. But here's the thing. It's not just about biology. You may be in business, you may be in art or technology or sports. Doing is universal. Every entrepreneur I've met, every leader I've hosted, every performer I've sung with, they all share just one thing. They stepped into uncertainty. They acted before they had all the answers. That's terrifying, agree, but yet it is very liberating. Let me confess something. Many years ago when I started teaching, I thought I had to be perfect. Perfect lessons, perfect results, perfect control. But in my very first year, I did have a student asking me a question for which I didn't have an answer. And in that silence, I felt I had failed. So I told them, I don't know, but let's find out together. And that moment changed everything. It taught me that doing doesn't always mean knowing. It means willing to learn alongside others. So whether you're in the lab with garlic oil that refuses to kill bacteria, or on the stage where you have a voice crack that will never be forgotten, or in a classroom where you don't have all the answers, remember, this is the art of doing. It's not always pleasant. It's unpredictable. But this is also where magic happens, because in the end, results may fail you, plans may collapse, but the act of doing, of stepping forward anyway, is what shapes who you want to become. You want to start a project? Don't wait till it's flawless. You want to learn a skill? Don't wait till you have the time. Take small steps. You want to make an impact? Don't wait till you're ready, because for all you know, you may never be ready. So let me leave you with 4 simple lessons, rather, the 4 principles of the art of doing that I've learned from science and teaching. 1, start before you're ready. That blank page is not going to disappear by you just thinking harder. It will only disappear when you write something, anything. 2, expect detours. Your first idea won't be the final one, and that's okay. The detours often matter more than the destination itself. 3, redefine success. Success isn't about getting everything right. It's about discovering something that you didn't know before. And if you walk away with a new question, you've won already. And what do you know? Your next mistake that you probably make might just change the world. And 4, be passionate about whatever you do. For instance, pick up an IA topic that you really want to do. You will see the results automatically. As an HOD, I never shy from my duties because I'm passionate about my subject as well as my role. As a singer, I will somehow always find the time to rehearse, practice, and take up opportunities to perform, because this is what my passion is, and it's in my DNA. So just start, learn, do, learn again, do it again. And trust that even if it doesn't go the way that you expected, it will always take you somewhere. Take my example. I still remember my dream that I couldn't fulfill. I wanted to pursue medicine. Circumstances were not in my favor. But today, I have no regrets, because I made the best of the situation I had in hand, and I feel it has worked in my favor. I did what I was supposed to do right, and I felt proud, and today I'm happy where I am, and I wish to continue growing. And I wish the same for you all as well. Thank you very much.